Welcome to the Teaching Science Podcast.
These episodes are recorded on Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern in our virtual Teachers Lounge.
If you would like to join us on a Monday to chat about a topic related to science education, go to the calendar in our show description to get the link for the week.
You can listen to the recorded discussions as a podcast from any major podcast provider or on the Superheroes of Science YouTube channel.
Hybrid.
Oh, I saw an eye roll. So I'd heard there today is like India shut down now again.
Again?
Yeah. They've increased restrictions because for India and stuff.
Okay.
And because they were talking about that in one of our meetings about some countries, even their own people, if they're coming back, they have like 48 hours from now. If they're not out of India by then, they're not allowed to come back to their country.
Oh my gosh.
And stuff like that. And so it seems like, I don't know if that's a sign of the times. I don't know if this is kind of like we are now in a pandemic era where we're constantly going to have things like that.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that hybrid teaching is the teaching of the future.
Yes, unfortunately, I think so. Because I think even, and put the pandemic to the side, I feel like our corporations now are like, oh, this totally can be done.
Yes.
So I could see in the future where, and I don't know that, this is just my hypothesis, but I could definitely see in the future that maybe virtual might be an option because there's a lot of competition. I know our principal has talked about it, a competition between and you can take it out if I'm not supposed to say it. It's like the Indiana Academy, which is free.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a homeschooling, but it's through the state in a way. So there's a lot of they're getting monies that we could be getting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
In our buildings,
And
but because of those students are choosing to go that route. So if our corporations are seeing how successful, and that's I'm using that term loosely because I'm not saying it's been successful like for the kids, but or for the teachers for that matter, but if they're seeing some kind of data that shows them how successful it's been, then I could see them saying, oh, well, we could offer that, like we could totally, every classroom teacher can have X number of students face-to-face and X number hybrid.
I think something like that is the way of the future. I think hybrid's here to stay.
I do too. I know just speaking with other teachers that now, and it's sort of become the norm, what I think of this whole year is that not only do they have to have their lessons for labs that are happening in person, but at the same time, they have to have that same thing that they're doing as an online option as well for then the students that can't attend. So, and that they're pulling their hair out trying to teach the kids that are there in the classroom, but also cover the same material for the kids that are virtual.
I think a lot of places will you'll be stuck with that as a teacher. You'll be stuck with both, but some places there will be a virtual instructor at pretty much every organization from here on out.
Our corporation this year chose to have virtual teachers, and they had a larger caseload. Well, I don't want to say caseload, number of students than like face-to-face teachers, and to our benefit, those of us who are face-to-face, because we had to keep the 6-foot distance and you had to keep the mask wearing and all that had to, all the sanitizing, all that had to go and fall into play too. So that was like in our favor, but that we didn't have to have elaborate numbers of kids in our classrooms, but so that made the virtual numbers go up. But I know for a fact that several people that I know, I think our corporation was keeping them separate, virtual and face-to-face. That was not the norm. I know teachers in California. I know teachers in Lebanon community schools here in close by, where they're expected to do both. And one of them is a kindergarten teacher, the one in California, and I'm like, how does she Zoom and teach at the same time that she's trying to manage a classroom full of face-to-face kids? Like, to me, that's an injustice, to the teacher, to the kid. Like, it's just wrong all the way around. And I'm, thank goodness, she's choosing to retire after this year. She has many more years of, I don't know what you want to say, like she could go for more years if she wanted to, and she has the desire to do so, but that's driven her out, you know, and I think that's sad because that she would be that's going to be a loss, you know, to the profession.
Yeah.
That is sad, and I think that you will see more of that. And we've
Yeah.
already short on teachers, so I think it's going to be even harder on the education system as a whole. But I still think it's here to stay. And
I do. It's very commendable that your school kind of had that forethought to make a teacher that, you know, would handle virtual students, and because then I think you're still just doing your job. I don't know.
Right.
I feel like when you're asked to do the in-person and the virtual, it's like you're doubling up.
Yeah, I think the ones that are doing
Right.
both are cheating on both.
Yeah.
I think they're cheating both kids.
Yeah, because I can do one well or the other well, but I don't feel confident that I could do both to give any justice to both of them at the same time.
And so for hybrid, I know one of the things that we're doing is virtual labs, but we're doing labs that can be done in person or virtually. It's like we're planning for all of our AP Friday stuff in the fall, and we've had two of the meetings today. We've mentioned an online aspect to that. So we'll have classes here. We're teaching these lessons to these high level lessons, but we'll probably have some that are there virtually on the other side of the computer going through the lessons with someone else, with us instructing remotely all at the same time. But to do that, we're going to have someone at the computer. I don't know how a teacher could do both. I have no idea how they do both.
We're super people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing, is that people think we can do it all, and I think it's okay to say we can't. I mean, there comes a point where, I mean, realistically, really, you know, like I don't know, like that's just me in the soapbox, but
I think
I agree entirely.
I think you do have to be, you know, be realistic about what it is you can do and can't do, and be open to speaking with administrators, I think, too, about like, I don't know.
But what are we doing? It's like we have for every lab now, we can't just make the lab. And I am not a huge planner to a detailed planner. I'm the type person is like, okay, here's the lab we're going to teach. Oh, let me grab that stuff, then I'll go teach it. But if have an online component to that, and I'm going to have to put a lot more work into upfront, a lot more work into making sure it's a little more detailed. The lab is a little more detailed. Making sure if it's something I expect them to be doing, they would have to have supplies. So if they don't have the supplies, then I'm going to have a video of that side of the aspect of the lab. And so, which would be like help the kids that went through the lab too, if they could go back through and see a video of those labs. And so it's going to, I think, require a lot more prep and a lot more work to be able to put those things together. And that would be a high school level. At the middle school level, we don't do as many labs. We do some labs. Like in the elementary, how will you prepare for the possibility of a hybrid fall?
Yeah, well, that's what worries me. I've got some big concerns about that because I'm trying to say how to say this daintily, but I do know, like, for example, of some grade levels who may or whatever, who have the lessons already, like, on the computer. So I'm thinking these are phonics lessons, but I'm thinking even with your labs, right? So the teacher, instead of teaching the phonics lesson in front of the class, where you can kind of gauge those teachable moments, or you can stop misconceptions in the moment and you can correct those right at that time, like in the moment, because some of the best learning occurs in the moment, you know, like, but instead of doing that, they're saying, okay, kids, and I check this on Canvas, and you're going to do your phonics lesson off of Canvas today. And they are watching a teacher that's teaching that lesson, but it's all independent. They have their headphones on. They may or may not be accountable for filling out the data sheet, but, you know, whereas when it's face to face and I am the one instructing, I can gauge who is on task, who is not on task, and I can stop them and say, hey, look, Isaiah, you're not the same place that the rest of us are. Come on, pick up the pace, or you gotta stay with us, or you're gonna owe me some makeup time during developmental centers because you didn't get the X, Y, or Z done like you should. And I need to know what you know. And I know there's a little bit of that. Some of them collect the papers and look at it, and then address those situations later. But by that time, the kid's like, what? Like they're not, you kind of lost the heat of that moment, And I think they've done it so that everybody can be on the same page, and they're all hearing the same thing. And I get the value in that too. But on the other hand, they're missing that teachable moment piece that's like in that moment. So I worry that if we have those options, that some teachers are going to say, oh, well, it's online, so you're going to do the lab online. Everybody's going to do the lab online, so, and that's not going to be the best, in my opinion, will not be the best learning experience for all kids. Some kids, yeah, but not all kids.
I think that just makes me think of two things. And I think the first of which is then the students that are able to be in person and getting that are just hands down getting better instruction. I think it's just there's that you can't compete with that. And that's just unfortunate that then that's going to create a divide between kids that for whatever reason can't be in person.
If I can interrupt you just real quick, but I don't think that reflects on the teacher at all. So I don't want virtual teachers to be like, oh my gosh, they bashed me, because I was saying the same thing, like the girl that works next door to me, she's all virtual, and we've had some of her kids come back face to face, and they are behind, but that's not her fault.
No.
She has tried her best to keep them up, but it's parent schedules, and it's this and it's that, and there's all kinds of other things going on. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's challenges.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I think, and then the second thing I think is just a staffing issue. I think, so my nephew is a kindergartner this year, and I know that up until I think April, everything was completely online. There was no option for in-person. And so, but I know that when they would put them in different rooms, breakout rooms, that he would have the computer time, that there were always two teachers on there. And it's my understanding from his parents that are working with him on this, that the teachers would be chatting together, and then like you're saying with the children, if you notice in the moment there that, oh, I think they don't seem to be paying attention, call on them. And so then that would be the next student they got, but that would take two. I don't know how you would do that with one teacher, not only listening, but then also if you're doing Zoom like that, and you've got students that you're also teaching simultaneously, that's just, you don't have that required, to me, you need more than one teacher for something like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So what do we do? I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. To be done right, we're going to have to, but let's stop and look at reality for a minute. We're not going to get it.
Yeah.
We're not going to, if education was that important to the people, the politicians and whatnot, then educators wouldn't be the lowest paid professional career out there. And so that's not going to happen. We're not going to get the money. It's not going to be ideal, but we will blame you as a teacher. But so what are we going to do? And so what do we get? I know it's like, we're thinking of even the lessons we do.
Yeah.
We talked to Paul today. We talked about possibly making like 3 videos for every lesson.
Right.
By different like scenario things and stuff. And so we're talking about a ton of prep work for every lesson that we're going to do now. That's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have a video for the actual instruction. Then we're going to have the lab. Then we're going to have like a lab video. And then if we want to share it with other teachers, we'd need a whole nother video explaining why we did certain things and what could go wrong.
Right.
And so, but then for the elementary, I know as you mentioned, there's some people that have a lot of they've through COVID, they started putting a lot of that together electronically now. And so, I mean, they might be a step ahead if we get stuck in the fall again, which my hope is everything's back to
normal. Yeah.
Boats out to normal. But right now, most places that I work with, we are planning for all in person and everything back to the way it used to be, but making contingencies just in case it's not. And so what contingencies are we working on as we plan for next year now?
Well, just from my personal experience talking with the girl next door for during our PLCs, and I'm talking kindergarten, like I don't know how it looks at other grade levels. So I don't know, I don't attend their PLCs and we never get to see each other hardly. It seems like you pass going to the bus and that's about it. But I think we have to beef up the parent accountability piece because I'm going to be stuck doing it by myself, right? And I'm going to be the only teacher in the breakout rooms, and I'm going to be the only one and I'm the person who's accountable for it, right? For overall, according to the state, we have to figure out how to make it where it's accountable, where parents are more accountable for providing that assistance if they can. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that's hard. And I there again, that's a catch, whatever 21 or whatever they call those, but some parents can't help. Like I have MJ and her stats, there's no way I could help her with that. You know what I mean? But that's my job as the parent. If she would have to continue to be a virtual student for something like that, for me as a parent to find other resources, to find her a tutor or find her another person who could meet with her one-on-one.
Well, is that one of the things we, as I'm going to say a little bit bigger than just us as teachers, but us as the schools, is the school going to have to have more and better resource list for the teacher or for the student and parent? And so are we going to have to put together and have like virtual office hours even for kindergarten?
Right.
For at different times of the days, because if mom and dad work second shift, they can't attend it in the afternoon. If they work first shift, they can't attend it then. And so are we going to have to then have office hours at different things, help session times? Do you think we're going to see a rise in things like that and independent, hopefully nonprofit, and so they don't charge people, but places is like tutoring and stuff. It's like the learning center there where we're from, where they offer different tutoring things for students. Are we going to see an increase in that? And is that what we need?
It's a start. I mean, I think will be. I mean, I'm even thinking on a kindergarten level, because flex time for a teacher, I would be more than happy to do evening sessions with some of my students who would need it, or even like as the grade level rep, say like Monday was my night to be the kindergarten rep for practicing with letters or reading with a kid or whatever, like, no matter whose kid it was, like I wouldn't care what class they came from, right? But as like the tutor. However, there comes a point where you can only give so much of your time for free. And I don't want it to sound like I don't care, because that's not true at all. But I feel like
but
I'm
you're
already working
a softball game. You're going to be there.
Yeah, above and beyond my contracted time of the day, and I feel guilty if I leave. Like my contracted time is 3:25. If I leave at 3:25, or if I leave before 4:00, I feel terrible. I feel guilty. Like I'm going home at my contracted time, but I still have things that I should be doing. And so I can bring it all home, and then all evening long, or, whatever. So, and I don't want it to sound selfish at all, but there needs to be a consideration for like flex time, like, okay, so you have office hours tonight from 6 to 7 or whatever. So maybe you don't have to do bus dismissal and you get to go home. You don't have to be at school until X time and you can leave at whatever, like, I wonder if that wouldn't be something that corporations could look into.
There you go. Now we're getting some possible solutions. Yeah.
Because I think even before this even became before COVID, before all this, that's a serious issue. I think being available, it's with all the prep work and all the grading and all the feedback, all of that stuff on top of the FaceTime that you have with the students. And that, I mean, that's, there's too much to do in the contract time to be, I always.
Right. Oh, me too. There's no way. And I don't have a lot of grading to do, but I have a lot of prep work because Case can't do, a lot of the prep that or the meeting time or the, so you're on this committee, congratulations, you got picked to be on this committee that meets, once a month. And oh, we're going to do a book study too. So here's this book. And oh yeah, by the way, you've got to lead a book study with your PLC. So here's the book you read it. And like all of that counts. Like when am I supposed to do that? Like, I can't do it during the school day.
Right.
I can't during on my 20-minute lunchtime, like I have a 40-minute prep, but I talk to parents during that time. Like there's all kinds of things that you're doing that are above and beyond, or that are not above and beyond, that you have to do on top of all the other stuff. So
I like what you're saying about just rethinking some of those extras. There just might not be time for those anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
right.
Yeah. And that's definitely, I think these are conversations we need to start having with administration now.
Mm-hmm.
If we have to do this in the fall, let's start our contingency plans and start figuring out, okay, well, students are going to need more help. How are we going to get them more help?
Right.
If it's going to be a teacher, what are they not doing?
Right.
Can we have some come in later? Can we hire, have paras do some different things? But then I think these things we need to actually legitimately talk to administrators and start thinking ahead about, get the seed in their head now, is so they're thinking about it, and then they're pushing it up to higher administration. Then for us, I think we are going to have to start literally making more videos and be ready, and supplementing some of our instruction with video, even when it's in person.
Right.
So it's I know that you did that some this year because you're trying to get your kids ready just in case you shut down.
Yeah, but I think the key word is some, because some teachers are going to be like, oh, I'm going to be prepared and we're going to do all of our labs on, they're here, watch this video. And that there again, you're missing that interpersonal piece. You're missing a whole bunch. That's why we're in the pickle we're going to be in, because kids can't, like they have to have that. So it has to be a balance. Like I'm okay with some, but I know some teachers will take that and be like, they're going to run with it and be like,
but I still think that I agree. We want to do as much in person and help them live as much as we can. But I think, what about right now, if you have kids in quarantine?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were able to, it's not something I expect us to go and be able to do overnight.
Yeah.
But as we're doing things, if we could record a little bit more now, and then for next year, we'll have that and they will have those. I just think that's one thing that we could actively do, that, okay, let's record this, it's, and even if you're using that classroom iPad and then putting them all in a, on your little YouTube page for your classroom private page, then I think we could build that online component of the curriculum to support.
Yeah.
And then if we don't need it for hybrid, if we end up just being in person, then how great would it be that you have these that then you can put in your class newsletter. You could send it out to your students on Class Dojo or whatever your management system is, and say, hey, we did counting. Here is a video that we did that I've made for a review of counting. If your student's having troubles with this, watch this video with your student. And so then there's the extra tutoring for the online aspect of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I guess my view was skewed from looking through the lens of poor technology, so in which we've talked about before, so I forget that other people are not in the same boat as I am with.
Well, that, and if you send a link to your parents, most of your class has your parents have a phone, or something like that, and it's most of them could watch a video.
Oh yeah, and I think that's where the teacher's job is, to make sure parents understand how important it is that they are doing those things at home. Because I have a lot of parents who say, that's your job. Like I have for example, a student, not in my room, but a teacher friend down the hall, whose child desperately needs to be retained, but the parent says, I don't want him retained. And then she says, what are you going to do in the next month to get my kid caught up? And the teacher's like, what do you mean? Like, I've been trying to tell you all year. We've had these conversations all year. There has to be give and take. Like, you have to do some there. I am doing the best I can here with this. So that is the parents communicating that with parents really clearly, from the get-go that it's
Well,
not
that's
just
where we need administrators to step in
right.
off the bat and
Yes.
saying, here are our expectations. And every year, we never had an elementary. Well, I see every once in a while, but I know once we got to high school, our kids brought home that middle school, high school, that expectations that
Yeah.
parents had to sign.
Yeah.
And so every year that's in there, parents are expected to, and then the administrator goes back to that. Do you remember signing this?
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
that's what we did in the high school classroom.
Yeah.
But no, we covered lab safety in the first week. We covered, you
Right.
saw the calendar with all the dates, like you signed off that these are the commitments and things, and
it's
and-
that point the administrator can go
Yeah.
back and say, no, you sign this. We've told you this.
yeah,
This
Right.
is your responsibility as a parent or guardian of this child, is to be able to support their understanding that you are the parent or guardian. That is your legal and moral responsibility to do.
and
Right.
if you don't,
I know
These
we don't
are-
have, and I'll get hate mail over this statement, but I'm used to it at this point. I know a lot of administrators don't have enough backbone to step up and say it because
Yeah.
they're so scared of the parents, because the parents then complain to superintendents. A lot of them are too narrow-minded to actually support the teachers and then
Correct,
support
yeah.
administrators. And I realize the politics screw a bunch of us over,
Mhm.
but
you can have a very healthy system where you have excellent
Yeah,
administration,
exactly.
which is a wonderful place to be, where
Mhm.
I know, like from personal experience, I had a few different administrators who were very strong minded and just cut it down, like, no, end of discussion, this is not happening. And
Right.
and it didn't happen, and I didn't have to worry about it.
Right. And then I think too, if we're gonna go that route as well, because we work in a corporation where there's a lot of non-English speaking students and families, and so there comes a point where some parents absolutely can't, like they don't know what to do. However, here are the resources. It is your responsibility. The teacher has hooked you up with this person or that person or this organization or this list. You have to follow through. You know what I mean? Like, and the best you can. And I'm realistic enough to know that there are work schedules that get in the way. There's lots of other siblings that are there, that provide a challenge. Sometimes there's a single parent home, or, or the parents are working and it's a high school child or a middle school child who's taking care of some siblings at home, so I get all of that piece, but I think there's gotta be, to make it successful. Like,
providing those resources, like you said, and helping, and that, if they're starting in kindergarten, they might not, but they're kind of learning with their students as well. So if they're making,
right.
they're trying, and then they learn as they go. Also,
so I think it's something we all need to think about, though. Just to wrap up is, look ahead, think ahead. What are things we can think about implementing, and what's some things we can go ahead and implement now, whether we end up being remote or in person later, or a hybrid.
Yeah.
In which, like I said, I think we're all agreed that hybrid is here to stay. In some, how that picture looks, we don't know, but I think planning for it now is going to save us a lot of headaches and extra blood pressure medicine later.
Yeah, and I think something that needs to also be and to plant a seed in our minds about assessment, because if the state's going to continue to require all this, the assessments that we have to do, and our corporations are as well, the virtual kids, like, I don't know, there's a big problem with testing at home versus testing in the classroom for lots of different reasons. So
you saw that Saturday, students doing science symposia projects.
Yeah.
The scientist asked them a question, and the students turned to their parents, which was
yeah.
right off screen.
Right.
I mean,
right.
you ask a question, they turn like this every time off screen. And
on the card, the little cue card. This is what you say right here.
Yeah.
We have that happening.
I think
in
it was being
kindergarten.
written as, because
Yeah.
it was being written as the questions.
So assessment's definitely something that we need to be able to figure out and discuss. We might actually we might chat about that down the road a little bit too, and do some ideas about that.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it for this week.
All right.
Thanks for hanging out with us in our virtual lounge.
Please like, download, and subscribe, and share the love.
Oh, I was going to say share the love. I was too
Find us on Facebook, Twitter,
Twitter, YouTube,
and follow us everywhere.
just not in a creeper way.